So, MCU debuts a new trailer for a new superhero, Ms. Marvel. Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of reshoots because apparently it was really bad. So they reshot it to fix it. And I guess this is the trailer from that version of it. There was an earlier teaser that looked pretty bad. And then now we're getting this because it's getting close. It'll be out in June. So it still looks pretty cheap and cheesy and really bad. Then there's a lot of dumb stuff in it. The thought balloons and word bubbles because it's supposed to be childish because it's for, for kids, I mean, when I was a kid, I hated this type of stuff. But I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. The music in it is very 80s sounding. The song does sound familiar, but I'm not confident that it is that old. But there was this sort of fad of new songs trying to capture the 80s sound and stuff like that. So maybe it's that, but it's that odd thing about these high school dramas. They always have old songs in them. It's like Stargirl has like 50s songs in it from the 50s. It's just, they just keep doing that. It's odd, especially something from that long ago. But, immediately I'm biased for several reasons. I can't stand high school dramas and soap operas. I bore with it for Stargirl's sake, and it turned out to be a fairly good show. Might be the same here. Might be. Don't know. The hope was that reshoots, maybe that's done to get rid of all the stupid woke stuff. Well, maybe they did that. Maybe they crafted a better plot that was really stupid or something along those lines. But the problem with trying to get the wokeness out of it is that Ms. Marvel was born out of wokeness. That was the whole point. Sana Amanat, who apparently will no longer be a part of Marvel, according to rumors for all kinds of shenanigans, but it really should be for her terrible tenure of being in charge of Marvel, when she's driven it into the ground. But whatever the reason, if she's gone, great, but it's too little too late. But this was her push for this character, and that it was hers. And boy, I tell you, Ms. Marvel did come across as a character that was created by someone who didn't know jack squat about superhero comics. Gave her a terrible suit, threw her out there and said, hey, you can't dislike it because if you do, you're an Islamophobe. It's that same old rinse, lather, repeat trick, and it never works. There were plenty of Muslim characters to choose from and to pump up and give more attention to. Already well established, but Miss Amina didn't know anything about that, but wanted one of her own to say, this is like the type of superhero she would have been when she was a little girl, and all this type of stuff. But immediately upon doing this, the idea of making a new character would not necessarily be bad, even though there's already others that were already established and everything. But you could make a new one. Okay, you do that, and what do? You immediately make her derivative of another character. Carol Danvers. That's what you did. Yeah. Meanwhile, because of wokeness, Carol Danvers had to get the promotion to Captain Marvel because, a man's title is more important. Follow the logic, So that's what they did with that. So the Ms. Marvel name is still available. Although there was an earlier, besides Carol Danvers, another Ms. Marvel who ended up becoming the She-Thing. I wonder whatever happened to her. I don't know. Well, anyway, it's Kamala Khan now. And make sure you say her name right. I may not have. I don't know. But because if you get it wrong, you're bad. So that's one of the lines in there. Oh, you got my name wrong. I suppose I should be upset every time someone calls me Douglas. Also, did you know? She's brown. That's right. She's brown. Bet you didn't know that. Well, now you do. Yeah. So as far as wokeness goes, those are the lines in there that obviously tell into it. But if that's all there is, then fine. The rest of it, just everything's flat and stale, and not a lot there. Not a lot. There's supposed to be a joke in there about her. I guess she's talking to her guidance counselor, and it's not good. I was never a fan of her stretchy powers. I kept, and maybe that's just unfair of me to do that, because I just kept saying she looks silly and stupid, and yet Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four, he's a very respected character, primarily for his genius intellect rather than his powers. So yeah, it could have been made to work, I suppose, but I always thought some other form of superpowers would make more sense, especially since she looks up to Carol Danvers. That's the whole point of her taking the name and all that. Could have been Miss Fantastic, you know? Yeah, she has the same powers. She's into science and all that stuff. She looks up to a genius and is inspired by Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. Oh, wait. Of course, I forgot. He's a man. You can't have a girl looking up to a man as inspiration. Good Lord. What was I thinking? So, yeah, so no Miss Fantastic, even though the name Miss Fantastic would be more original. Yeah, but let's just stay with the derivative. So anyway, that's what they did. So for the TV show, they've given her sort of Green Lantern powers, which actually apparently come from these bracelets she gets. So I don't know if the Inhumans will play any part in this whatsoever. They kind of pooped the bed on the Inhumans TV show, and that was being filtered through the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that. But since now we know that there was actually a split, so it has nothing to do with the MCU as far as Feige's concerned, and they'll have to reboot all that. So who knows? So it looks like now she'll find these bracelets that are either, I don't know, alien artifacts, which would fit more in with Captain Marvel, or they're magic or something, and maybe that'll play into what's going on with Doctor Strange and the like. It doesn't really matter. But that type of powers I always thought would make more sense if it was somewhat connected with Captain Marvel and all that. Well, another thing about Kamala Khan is that she's one of these characters that fits this archetype that I call the chasing Peter Parker aspect, and a lot of characters were produced out of this, and it's understandable. Spider-Man was this enormous hit and is easily one of the most popular superheroes, right on par with Batman. Superman used to be there too, but it breaks my heart to say it, just not as popular as it used to be, and it's unfortunate. But anyway, you understand why someone would look at Spider-Man's success and want to repeat that, and they do it over and over again. And it's always born out of, usually, the high school drama, soap opera type stuff, even though Spider-Man or Peter Parker just hasn't been in high school for decades. It's what they chase it for. The teen superhero, and think it's going to go somewhere. Most of them, they never achieve what Spider-Man achieved. That's a lightning in the bottle moment. And you can learn from it, and there's certain aspects and stuff, and you can make it work to a point, but they're never going to become big megastars and all that. And that, I'm sure that'll be no different here. But another interesting thing about it was that how they handled Spider-Man himself when they brought him in the MCU. I said many a times, I can't stand the Spider-Man movies, except the third one, the most recent one, No Way Home, was absolutely magnificent. Because it was closer to what Spider-Man is. That's who he is, and he actually becomes Spider-Man. He's actually more of a hero in that than the silliness, idiocy of the other two movies. And what was his motivation? His motivation was he was the super obsessed fan of superheroes. And that's why I want to grow up and be Iron Man and that kind of thing. And to the point that he was practically an obsessive fan and stalker of Tony Stark and all that. And I got to say, it looks they're doing a lot of these trappings for Ms. Khan here. That's her motivation. It's just, I want to be a superhero. I want to be famous and stuff. And it just falls into what would the real life a takeaway be for that people who want to be influencers on Instagram and TikTok and whatnot, and all that superficial nonsense is the type of thing they're just playing into. That's not a good motivation for a character. So hopefully, maybe she learns the hard way that that's a bad way to go, but circumstances put her in the position that she has to, save people's lives, and then she can learn that lesson and grow into be a real superhero. And more times than not, the superheroism is quite the burden on the superhero. They're very much alone, and it weighs heavily on them, and they suffer a lot for it. It's all fun and cool, and I'm better than the popular girl. She just doesn't know it, and all that stuff. Yeah, that's. I mean, as a jumping off point, okay, fine, but that's how they handled Spider-Man until they finally got it right, of course. But to do that to a major character, and then the odds that they're going to be respectful and try to give this character a chance, probably not very good. Could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. Maybe they fixed it. It's just a bad trailer with some stupid dialogue in it, and the actual story that unfolds is pretty clever. Well, maybe not clever, just sort of fun to watch. Because Stargirl is a show that's obviously not made for me, and I expected it to be this crap that I'm expecting of Ms. Marvel here, but I was wrong. It was actually, it's kind of fizzled, but nothing major. It's just, it's like they're kind of running out of ideas. Maybe they'll pick it back up in the next one. But it turned out to be okay and kind of good here and there. So it's possible D Plus can have their own Stargirl here. Maybe. But I remain dubious. It's unfortunate. But then all this, and try to wrap it around representation for Muslims and all that. You're still ignoring an awful lot. Well, okay, not an awful lot, but you're ignoring some established. Now that you got the X-Men back, you've got more characters to play with, and there's some Muslim characters in there. Whatever. Anyway, we'll see how Ms. Marvel turns out, but of course I remain dubious.